When Governor Steve Bullock addressed the Zero Suicide Conference in Helena this fall, he said he often feels like the consoler-in-chief since he has attended so many funerals of people who've chosen to end their own lives. Many of them were young Native Americans. Tonight I go on special assignment to hear what it's going to take to save lives on our state's reservations. Scroll through Josiah Nichols' Facebook page and you'll see a teenager who loves his family, has a great head of hair, is a basketball player for Two Eagle River School, a talented native singer, and someone who has scores of friends. Many of those friends filled the hallways of the hospital the night Josiah decided to die by suicide.
I don't know exactly what happened that day. I just remember my phone call, getting my phone call. And I was crying and I was shaking. It was his face, so I tried to call him. His phone just rang and rang and rang.
A week before his death, he posted this on Facebook. They were words of despair. They were followed by words of love and support from his friends, but it did not change what was about to happen.
My baby was laying there. My heart, I could feel it shattered. All I wanted was my baby. I just wanted him to open his eyes.
Josiah was just 16 years old. His death was one of 20 confirmed suicides in the Mission Valley community since last November. There's no statistic pointing to how many were attempted. Montana's Native Americans have the highest rate of suicide in a state that already has one of the highest rates in the country.
I'm in part haunted by what you're here to work on.
Last month, Governor Steve Bullock launched the Zero Suicide Academy. It's a major component of a statewide plan to reduce suicides. The goal here is to share ideas that people can take back and put to use in their own communities, to examine what's happening on their own reservations. There are no easy answers, but the conversation is well underway.
Suicide isn't something that you can address and it's going to go away. It's a symptom of much bigger issues. And so what we want to think about is what else do we need to do? Who do we need to pull together? What have other tribes done that have helped them address this as a key issue of wellness across Indian country?
Suicide is also a topic that's now talked about openly in schools, because it has to be.
We've taken an open stance as far as it's not something that should be pushed behind or not talked about when somebody comes up or has questions or it comes up in class. It's something that we have agreed as a staff to discuss, or maybe not there at a different time with those students.
It's an issue that affects young people deeply as they watch their peers and friends struggle. Many believe suicide has become a bigger issue than bullying. After several suicides in the Mission Valley last spring, the student leaders of St. Ignatius High School went to their teachers and said they want training to know what to do if they have a classmate in crisis, because they know often a young person contemplating suicide will reach out to their peers before their parents.
It'd be nice to know what to do in that situation, so that's why we want the leaders in our groups to be trained in something, so that way when their friends do reach out or people do reach out to them, they do know how to handle it the right way.
There's no one reason why someone might choose to end their life. For Native Americans, tribal leaders say the answer to their pain cannot be suicide. That pain needs a voice.
While this is a really sad time for us, it is also an opportunity for us to really put a mark in the sand and do business differently. We are really saying that we need to figure out a different way of addressing our issues that have gone back for generations.
Sherry often reads the note her son left behind, searching for answers that just aren't there. She can still see his face in photos, hear his voice singing back at her on an iPad, but it's not the same.
I don't get to see him anymore. I still wait up for him, and I know he's not going to come home.
Josiah was loved by so many. His friends and family often leave him messages on his Facebook page. If you are in crisis, there is a number you can text, 741-741. Type in MT for Montana. It's a free 24/7 text line and someone will help you. Western Montana has lost Macy's, Kmart, Sears, some Staples stores, Hastings, and JCPenney's is closing its Helena store. It's what some economists call the death spiral of retail. How we shopped has changed dramatically. In fact, I can order a pair of shoes on my phone right now while we talk. So is this the reason department stores around the country are failing? Because we'd rather shop with our phones than our feet? Or are the department stores around the country failing us? I go on special assignment to find out who's going to win in the age of Amazon. For decades, Americans devoured the big department store in town. They dressed up to shop at a place where they could buy toys to undergarments to pens, anything they wanted, all in one place. But are these brick and mortar stores now the ones on the clearance rack? The teardown of the Missoula Mercantile is perhaps a metaphor to what is happening to the American department store. We shop online now, and we have absolute power over who gets our money.
We've come to the end of an era in retail. A lot of people are looking at what we're going through right now as sort of being a transitionary time. I look at it as being more of an abrupt change, and a lot of that is being driven by technology, but it's all changing the way consumers and brands interact in the retail space.
Put on your Sunday best, kids. We're going to Sears.
Oh, but not Sears. It's smartphones and shopping apps, eBay and Amazon Prime.
There's more for your life at Sears.
They have all eroded traditional shopping models and trips to the mall. And this genie is out of the bottle for good.
Everybody likes to say Amazon is killing retail, and this is what people also said about Walmart, is killing retail. And we like to sort of blame the newcomer in the industry who's changing the rules of the game.
The new rules mean retailers have to work much harder to give consumers what they want, when they want it, and for the cheapest price. That goes for smaller local stores too. They have to offer what Amazon offers: immediate satisfaction.
There's a really important way to build loyalty and differentiate through understanding that context which supersedes the individual dollar transaction that's occurring, that we may be losing because unless we offer that same kind of convenience, variety, instantaneous purchase, consumers really don't have that motivation to be that loyal customer.
So if customers aren't faithful anymore and they shop around, how does anyone stay in business? Well, that brings us to Bob Ward's. Any of their popular merchandise you can find online, yet Bob Ward's has been in business 100 years. How does that happen? They weren't caught with their pants down.
We started our online effort, I think, back in 1999. And at that time, it was just sort of dabbling in eBay. While we were doing that, we were developing a website. That grew pretty fast, and in 2003, that's when we partnered with Amazon. And probably at that time, our website started to grow fairly aggressively.
Amazon certainly helps stores get more sales, often driving them to the store's actual website. But Amazon also takes a bigger cut of the profits.
It's kind of a catch-22. You know, they bring a giant audience to our website, and you know, we cannot turn a blind eye to that.
There are also businesses that don't have to compete against the Amazons or any online store, and they're coming to Western Montana, often leasing store space left behind from stores that didn't make it. So says commercial real estate broker Matt Mellett.
Rather than new tenants being typical big box or apparel stores that are just getting destroyed by Amazon, that they're being replaced with things like furniture stores, which is very difficult for Amazon to compete with, or with grocery stores, or with experience-based tenants.
Economists say building a business strategy in this new era will be a painful evolution for some businesses. Those that cannot change will continue to fail. More than ever, the consumer is king. But even that can come with a price.
We as a community have to figure out how do we actually become part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem where we complain about the loss, but then we don't look at our own behaviors that maybe have contributed to it. I hate to say that that's really strong, but I think it's fair.
Now, I read a statistics that MarketWatch says Amazon will eliminate 1.5 million retail jobs in the next 5 years. Another report has Amazon capturing 50 cents of every dollar we spend online.
And of course, it gets more complicated when you put AI, machine learning, and robots into this mix. What was one piece of advice Jackie had if we want to support these local businesses?
Well, you know, you go into stores like Hide and Soul in Missoula or the Runner's Edge, you use their expert advice on how to get, say, the perfect fit of a shoe, and then you walk out the door and order that shoe online. What you should probably do is support that business that just gave you this extra value-added information to help you buy a better product, and that's how we can support our local businesses. And it does matter because our businesses here bring people from outside the area.
Hard to tell exactly what her style is, but she writes with color in her music. Reminds me a lot of the great singer-songwriters in the 90s.
She's definitely a singer-songwriter, and she likes being different and defining her own sound. She's a young Missoula singer who is now preparing for the biggest learning curve of her young life.
Jolene, 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 please.
The comment section reads, "Is this the voice of an angel? The way she sings this makes me cry. Her voice needs to be known." Remarks from some of the almost 400,000 people who've seen this YouTube video of Missoula singer Maris. This 17-year-old has made a name for herself performing and winning singing contests around Missoula. But then came this video.
I don't belong here.
A baseball hat, a feather cape, and pearls. Oh, and a beautiful voice. With this rendition of Radiohead's Creep, Maris was runner-up in a national online contest sponsored by Postmodern Jukebox. She got to fly to LA to perform her own spin on a Dolly Parton classic. Postmodern Jukebox is an online platform created by musician and producer Scott Bradley to discover new talent.
He brings people in and they take pop songs and cover them as if they were played on the radio in the 50s or the 60s. It adds a lot of substance, I feel, to a lot of songs.
Reflecting off your back.
We met Maris a couple of years ago as her 6-song EP was a #1 seller at Rockin' Rudy's in Missoula. Now she has a new 13-track CD, written, performed, produced, and assembled all on her own.
The production is terrible, honestly. Yeah, and like printed all of the slip-ins for this one, and I bought the jewel cases off of Amazon and like burned all of the CDs myself and then just like wrote on the disc. So they look like trashy mixtapes, but it's fine. Like, I think maybe that's the style that suits me.
So she's producing her own music, she writes her own songs, she plays the instruments, she wins singing contests, she's creating a buzz for herself online. So what's next for this small town girl? Well, she's graduating from high school a year early and heading to the Big Apple.
I'm completely aware that somebody who was born and raised in Missoula, I'm going to hit like the biggest learning curve in my life, but I kind of am excited to grow as a human being and also as an artist. I was talking to my old middle school teacher, Mr. Delaney, and he was like, there's 100 other Marises there, and you're gonna have to find a way to stand out from them. And so I feel like I'm never gonna be able to reach my full potential if I don't put myself in situations where I have to.
As a singer-songwriter, she creates a film in her head, not just words, but feelings or moments, the kind we all look for in music. And it works, even though it's hard to explain her process.
Something kind of shimmery sounding, I guess. I would think of like things that are shimmery and then try to emulate what I see and like the feeling of that into the sound. I probably don't make any sense right now, but like, okay.
This teen's talents are constantly evolving. Where will she strike a chord next? That's yet to be written.
I think maybe my full potential is the day that I can create a song that emulates a feeling so strongly that it's like a universal.
Jolene, Jolene.
Now, Maris just won another honor through the American Protege contest, and so she's going to be performing an original piece called Liar for a couple of days, you know, at that place called Carnegie Hall.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, Carnegie Hall, right? We have links to her social media pages where you can hear more from her on our website, kpax.com. And here's my own personal signed CD, so I'm hanging on to this.
Hanging on that one.
Hanging on to
I think
this
it's
one.
fun that they